Hey fam, thank you for joining me again for, I'm going to call them episodes. So episode 2 of my testimony. So this week I'm going to get into early childhood. So I remember being 4 years old and my aunt asking me, did I want to come live with her? I spent a lot of time at my aunt's house anyway as a kid. I'm not sure if I already lived there or not. I guess I should ask, right? Just a little tidbit about me. I'm not the most social person. I do love the camera. I like being in front of the camera, but I am not a socialite. I'm very introverted. So, reaching out to people and calling and asking questions, I don't do all that. But anyways, so at 4 years old, I started living with my aunt and my uncle and my 2 cousins up until I was 9 years old. That was a great span of my life. I was not treated any differently than my cousins. I lived in a great home in a great neighborhood, went to a great school. It was good. When I was 9 years old, I wanted to go live back with my mother because I have 2 little sisters. And if you have siblings, you definitely understand this. You want to be with your siblings. So I wanted to be with my siblings. So I went back and lived with my mom. I was not there very long. I was there for maybe 7 or 8 months. That 7 or 8 months was probably the most traumatic experience in my entire life. Like, hands down. Like, some of the worst things happened to me in that little bit of time. I'm not going to get too deep in some of the stuff that I went through. But just because my family don't even know some of the stuff I went through. But a little bit, I'll give you a little bit of how my home life was when I lived with my mom. So I was 9 years old. I had a 10-month-old little sister and like a 1.5-year-old little sister. And you would think at 9 years old, you can go out and play with your friends. Be a 9-year-old. No, that is not the type of living that I had to endure. Like I told you before, my mom struggled with alcohol addiction, drug addiction, and just her ways. Like, she would choose literally everything else over her children. So that left me, if I wanted to leave the house, I would have to take my 10-month-old sister and my 1-year-old sister with me at 9 years old. I couldn't go inside my friends' houses because I always had these kids with me. I couldn't experience what a 9-year-old would experience because, I was a babysitter essentially. And I think that's why now, I know I have 7 kids, but I don't care to be around a lot of kids. And I think that's because of that trauma, because of that part of my life where I was I had kids all the time. I didn't even get to enjoy being a kid. We moved from one house to another, and my other aunt, my saving grace, it came to a point when we moved from being in Wyoming, Kentwood, Wyoming area. We moved to Granville on Liberty. And I remember y'all literally eating out of the freaking trash. No cap. That's our living situation was not good. CPS was at our house a lot, but back then, they really didn't do anything. If my mom wouldn't let them in the house, they weren't coming in the house. And that was it. So CPS did not help us. But my aunt did. My aunt came in and she took me. And I lived with her from the age of 9 to 12. Went back to good schools, good neighborhood, good life, good house. Treated like I was theirs. If it weren't for my 2 aunts that spent a lot of their time raising me, I wouldn't be the woman I am today. One time my daughter asked me, was I adopted? Because I have two younger sisters, and I'm very different from my two younger sisters. And because they unfortunately had to live in that environment for longer than I have, longer than I did. So unfortunately, sometimes you become a part of your environment, and that is what happened with not both my sisters, but that's what happens when that's all you are around, and that's all you know. Those are the characteristics and the mannerisms that you pick up. You're product of your environment. You don't have to continue that. You got to be a strong person to persevere through something like that. So I stayed with my aunt until I was 12 years old. During that time, I had a lot of stomach issues. So that's where my second surgery came in. I was 11 years old. I had scar tissue growing in the area where I had my first surgery, because I've always dealt with stomach problems. And I had a second surgery at 11, and that's where the scar is on my stomach. Advances in medical was not very good back then. Now they make little incisions. Now, back then they didn't. And that's why I like to share my weight loss journey with y'all, because I never ever thought that I could ever get a six-pack because of how they put me back together, how they stapled me. I had staples, y'all, that they pulled out. It was horrible. But they stapled my stomach together, and they just didn't staple it right. So I didn't even think that it'd be possible for me to get a six-pack. So that's what I'm working on. That's why I'm striving for that so much, because I didn't think that it was going to ever be possible. But we gonna see. And so 12 years old, I wanted to go back with my mom, and I started living with my mom again at 12 years old. That is where I'm going to stop, because that's a lot that I just shared with you. But because some very exciting things happen from 12 to 17. It will blow your mind. Well, it blew my mind at the time. But so that's episode 2 of my life. So if you want to know more as I continue on, as I share my world with you, tune in next week, Wednesday at 9 o'clock, and I'll have another episode for you. All right.